Well, we want to welcome you once again to our teachings. We're going to continue today with youth group versus youth church. And once again, I have my good friend, Profecy, who's been a part of the things that we did when we had the Next Level Youth Ministry for many, many, many years. And I'm going to talk to you about some things that are going to just blow you away. And he's going to chime in and just kind of give us a little bit of feedback as one of the youth that actually was part of this, and then later becoming one of our leaders, and then eventually becoming a youth pastor.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can come from all directions with this.
Yeah.
And again, we're titling this Youth Group versus Youth Church. And you're probably sitting there right now and you're asking yourself, what is the difference? I mean, we always kind of just use those words interchangeably, youth group, youth ministry, youth church, but they are very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
And I guess just to kind of set this off, I would say that the first difference and the main difference between a youth group, which maybe you are in charge of or maybe you're a part of right now, and a youth church or maybe a youth ministry, we can pretty much call it either one of those two, is the focus and the purpose. I always look at it this way. A youth group, just to kind of, give a good example of the difference. A youth group is created to watch over, to care for the children of the members of the church.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's the primary focus. Keep them on the right path. Make sure that they don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
Teach them the Word of God, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's a great thing. I mean, all of us. I mean, I'm a parent.
Yeah.
I'm a grandfather now, and I raised 3 boys. I want my kids to be, well involved in the church, understanding the scriptures. So there's nothing really wrong with that.
Yeah.
But if that is your primary focus, and then you are missing the point of what a youth church or a youth ministry actually is. And that would be that it's not just inward focus, it's an outward focus.
So good.
Yeah. A youth church, in my opinion, reaches out to kids in the neighborhood. It's not just restricted to the members of the church
or the community of the church. Yeah.
They think big. They think like the church does.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's called the youth church, because in many ways it operates and it runs the same way that a church runs.
Yeah.
They bring people into the church. They evangelize. They have new converts. They do new converts classes.
Yeah.
I mean, they do everything. They disciple them.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I think that the problem is the vision, the focus, the purpose. And a lot of times it's short-sighted, So, someone gets into youth ministry and maybe, and this, I'm going to speak to this because I think you can relate to this. It's so important as a youth pastor, youth leader, whatever it is that you are, to have the backing of your pastor.
So good, Pastor.
I mean, if you are in a church that you do not have the backing of your pastor, you're in trouble. You're going to have a youth group. I mean, they're going to tell you exactly what they want you to do.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you, we want you to focus on these kids.
Yeah.
We want you to keep them busy.
Yeah.
And teach them the Word of God.
Yeah.
And you're not going to grow. You're only going to grow as the church grows.
It sounds more like you're just entertaining them.
It is.
That's it.
Yeah. It's like a form of entertainment.
Okay.
Which, again, as a father, believe me, I wanted my kids playing sports. I wanted my kids being involved in extracurricular activity and church activity, making friends at church to keep them out of trouble,
Correct.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's where it ends, it's a problem.
There's no growth.
And you're never going to get anywhere unless the senior pastor believes in youth ministry. And that is one of the things, when we created the Next Level Youth Ministry, which at one time was the largest youth ministry in the country, very successful.
Yeah.
We had the backing of our pastor.
Come on.
And I got to give a shout out right now to Pastor Alberto Delgado from Alpha and Omega Church, because I don't know if it was just that he believed in me or if he just understood that he didn't understand the youth ministry.
Yeah.
he told me that quite a few times.
Okay.
He was like, hey, I don't know,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how to deal with these kids, I have no clue, you do your thing. I don't ever recall pastor coming into our youth ministry to supervise us.
That's true. That's so true.
I know he came a few times that we invited him.
Yeah.
Because we wanted the kids to get a glimpse of who he was.
Yeah.
We also understand the importance of connecting them from the preteens to the youth,
Come on,
to the young adults, to the church.
yes.
And so if they never get connected with the senior pastor, they're not going to make that transition.
And sorry to interrupt you, Pastor. That is a part that you, as a youth pastor, taught us very well. To understand that on Fridays you're the youth pastor, and we got our church going on. But you also taught us to honor on Sundays, and we will have hunger to go on Sundays and hear Pastor D.
Yep.
So it wasn't just like it's Fridays and we don't go on Sundays.
Yeah.
It was like, yo, we're going on Fridays. But at the same time, we're honoring Pastor D, Pastor Delgado, and we were sitting there listening to his word.
I think this kind of leads me to say this is very important. You need a senior pastor,
correct,
that believes in the youth pastor,
yes,
or understands youth ministry,
correct,
and then you need a youth pastor that honors the senior pastor,
100%.
Because if he doesn't, it does grow.
You're clashing,
and you're clashing, and then your youth ministry is growing, and since it doesn't depend on the church really,
yes,
because it's not inwardly focused, only it's outwardly focused. There could be a clash. There could be, a rivalry, which never happened.
Never,
because we taught the youth, honor your senior pastor. Come on Sundays, and as a result of them going on Sundays, we didn't have to invite Pastor Delgado so much on Fridays.
Exactly.
Because they would hear him on Sundays.
We were listening to him on Sundays.
I remember, I don't think he ever preached for the youth ministry. I can't recall one time.
A couple of times.
He actually preached.
Yeah. A couple of times.
But I do remember him at one retreat.
Yes.
That he showed up.
Yes.
And I know that we invited him. I know he didn't teach that on that retreat or anything. He just kind of just showed up.
He was hanging. He was
just hanging out. I remember he was in his SUV.
Yes.
I remember talking to him. So I think this is something that is extremely important, because there has to be there can be a rivalry.
Yeah.
There can be a clashing of.
Yeah.
There has to be a youth pastor that knows how to honor leadership.
Yeah.
And there has to be a senior pastor that understands the dynamics of youth ministry, or, like I said, at least understands that he doesn't understand.
That's so good. That's so good. That is so good. How do you, Pastor? How do you going back to the senior pastor? What's a good way of, for example, you're saying, Pastor trusted you completely. It wasn't like he was on top of us. What are you doing? We had freedom, a good freedom, which made us do a lot of great things for God in the community. But what also would be a good word for you to say to the senior pastor that probably is struggling and is afraid, and he's like, man, how do I, or just they ignore that part on like, I need this youth group to flourish.
Yeah.
And they might be afraid to take that step and be like, it's not that they're letting us, Pastor D wasn't letting us just do whatever we wanted. No, obviously not. But he trusted you.
Yeah. I think
guided by God, obviously.
So one of the things that you're speaking about is, I guess for every senior pastor, you got to be sure of yourself,
Exactly.
Because it could happen with the youth ministry, but it could happen with any ministry.
Yes.
Your men's ministry could just blow up,
Exactly.
Your I don't know, your teen ministry, your young adults ministry, your college age, whatever.
Right.
pastors have to understand the calling that they have, senior pastors, on their life. And I think that it's very important that, you know, they don't, that they're not afraid, because anything that happens, you know, it came from you. I had quite a few church splits.
Yeah.
And those church splits, you know, were pastors that probably were birthed under me. They probably learned the word with me. And you could get bitter, you know, you could get angry, or you could say, hey, there's another church that we started, you know? So that's part of it. But I think my case was very unique.
100%.
And you know, I love, and I'll quote, I learned this from Chino Life, our friend.
Hey, shout out to Chino.
And I don't want to say I always say, because I do always say it now, but I learned it from him. That's where the source came from. It says, a wise man learns from his mistakes, but a wiser man learns from other people's mistakes.
Come on.
And I think this is so important, because what I'm going to say, you're going to say, well, that's not my experience, but you can learn it right now.
Yeah.
So you don't have to fall, you know?
Yeah.
And my experience was very unique, because I went from being a senior pastor for 10 years to a gang pastor to a youth pastor.
To a youth pastor.
Which makes no sense
at all.
Most youth pastors,
like you're shifting backwards, bro. Like
most youth pastors, you know, they aspire to become a senior pastor.
Exactly.
And a youth pastor is like one of the steps to get there.
Yes.
So like you say, it was like going back. In fact, a lot of the people from my church were like, have you lost your mind?
What are you doing?
You know, and one of the things that we had trouble with was, okay, so you're going to become a youth pastor. What are we going to do? You know, the leaders of my senior pastor church.
Correct.
You know, what are we going to do? Are we just going to go to that church and start over again?
Correct.
I mean, do we all join you in the youth ministry?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't all have a calling to youth ministry.
Yeah.
So I think that because I had that senior pastor experience, when I became a youth pastor, it came naturally to honor the pastor, because I had already been there. And I had had quite a few church splits in those first 10 years.
You understood it.
And I understood how important it was.
Yeah.
And what it does to a church when there is a split. What it does to a church when, you know, people that have been there maybe from the beginning or been part of it for a long time, you know, get away. So I was very, very, very in tune with honoring my senior pastor. And I said to myself, I'm going to honor him the way I would want people to honor me if I was a senior pastor. Wow. And I had been a senior pastor for 10 years. So yes, you say, well, that's not my case. You know, chances are you're not a senior pastor becoming a youth pastor.
Yeah.
In fact, I've never heard of anybody doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's probably not your case. But you can learn, like I said, from your own mistakes, or you can learn from other people's mistakes.
And honoring, Pastor, that word honoring was a very big word in the youth group that you taught us. And it was part of the culture. It wasn't just a word that was thrown around. It wasn't just a cool little saying like, you know, oh, honor, let's honor Pastor D. And that's all we thought about. Like that was branded in us.
Yeah,
it was branded in us.
We did little things like, on his birthday, the youth collected an offering for him.
Exactly.
You know, even though he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in the service on Sunday, we'd present it to him and say, this is from the youth ministry.
Yes.
You know, and the youth would want to see that, you know, because they had sowed into that.
Honor.
So there's little things. Also, the key word, I think, even more than honor, I know we talked a lot about honor, but we talked about submission.
Come on.
We talked about we taught what it meant.
Yeah.
To be submitted.
And we lived it.
And we lived it. Yes.
We lived it. Yeah.
What does submission mean? Sub comes from being under, and then the word mission. It means to get under the mission. When there's a mission, there's something for people to get under. You know, a lot of people complain. I hear this a lot of husbands. Oh, my wife won't submit. I mean, that's probably the number one complainer. Pastors, my congregation won't submit.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a clear, defined mission? As a husband, do you have a clear, defined mission for your family, for your finances? If you do, your wife is going to get under that mission. If not,
100%.
she's probably going to create her own.
That's a problem if she's not under.
If she's not under. But this happens in church all the time.
Wow.
The pastors don't have a clear, what is your mission? Oh, evangelize the world and preach the gospel. But I mean, everybody's called to do that. You know, what is your niche? You know, what do you do? What is it that, why did God call you to pastor? What happened to you in life?
Yeah.
That broke you to the point that said, I got to do ministry,
Wow.
you know? And so having a mission helps people to submit. We had a very clearly defined mission at Next Level.
Yeah.
You know, we had 1,000 soldier. That was our 1,000 soldiers.
That was crazy.
That was what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then everything else that we did would lead to that. You know, we do this ministry because we want to get there.
Yeah.
You know, and then the church had a clearly defined mission that the youth ministry could get under.
Yes.
And so when we're under, we're submitted, and in that way we're honoring.
Correct.
And brother, I love that word, honoring.
Yeah, it's something that I believe that anyone that went to and went through our youth group with you as a leader, pastor, you know, it's something that it was branded in us, man, that honoring culture. Every time I see the Heat and they say Heat culture, I'm like, man, they took that from us, because we were
Culture
always
is everything, man.
Culture is everything.
Yeah.
Pastor, culture is everything, because Pastor D trusted the Lord with you, and he also trusted the Lord going and speaking to him, like, maybe I don't understand the youth culture, but you're bringing someone that does, and I trust that this is going to be successful,
and I'll get out of the way.
And not exactly, let me get out of the way. What a beautiful thing for the head honcho, the pastor, the main guy, to trust God and say, I'm going to get out of the way, and I'm going to let them, because I trust you, Lord.
And we did some crazy things.
I don't think crazy is the word.
I'm going to get into it. Some
Crazy is
impossible, you know, humanly impossible things.
100%.
And you know, at the end, I want to get into some of that stuff. But
yes,
just, I guess, to just move on to the next thing, honor to me is the greatest show of respect that you can have
100%.
for somebody. Because how do you honor somebody? By respecting what is important to them.
Come on.
I always say, if you want to honor somebody, show them respect. And respect is making important to you what is important to them.
Wow.
So your kids, you know, you have children. I have my children, you know.
Yeah.
They're older than you. But you know, you have children.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't like cartoons. I mean, I doubt you like, especially the cartoons they want to watch.
Yeah.
But if you go to the theater, you probably go see something that they want to see.
Exactly.
You have absolutely no interest in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is the worst thing you could see.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know what's in style right now. But you know,
man,
you're like, what?
Yes.
But you go. Because you make what's important to them important to you.
And you show them that it's important.
Yep.
You just don't go to go.
Yeah, you're not there.
You're not there sleeping. You're not there on your phone. You actually take part of, you know, you are engaging. Something that I do with my daughter for sure, Pastor. I engage in things that, man, I probably don't like. I don't understand them. But you know what? I know it's important for her. So I engage. And look at the colors. And she's like, you know, man, Dad, she's saying Dad is involved. Dad, you know, likes and enjoys when I'm enjoying. So that's respect and honor for sure.
I remember Jonathan telling me, you know, I'm a football guy, basketball guy.
Yeah.
Football number one. And my kids played football and basketball. And then Jonathan's coach made him play volleyball.
Oh, wow.
Because it helps with your vert for basketball.
Yeah.
And so he made him, you know, try out for volleyball. And he made the team, and he was really good. And their team was really good. And he was like, I never missed a football or basketball game, ever. Never. Awesome. For none of my kids.
Come on.
Yeah. Whether it was in another city, another state.
There, present.
But then he tells me, Dad, you never come to my volleyball games. And I was like, I never played volleyball in my life, you know? Nobody plays volleyball in Opelika. It's like, I was like,
that's not a hood game. That's not a hood game.
And I was like, all right, Papa, I'll go. I went. Wow, it was incredible.
Wow.
It was incredible. And after that, I never missed another volleyball game either. So it was football, volleyball, and basketball.
Wow.
And that's showing respect. That's
Yeah.
showing honor. And so a little lesson there on honor and respect. Youth church versus youth group.
Yeah.
Youth group usually will meet on the same day that the church meets, because the parents come to the church and they bring their teens.
Yeah.
And so the teens go into a trailer, into another room, whatever,
A powerhouse.
yeah, whatever it might be. And at the same time that the church is meeting, the youth is meeting.
Yeah.
A youth church meets when it meets.
Yeah.
Whatever day is convenient for the youth. We usually don't meet on the same day that the church does.
Yeah.
Although I do recall us always having something.
Yeah.
On the same day that the church had it.
Yes.
Although it wasn't our youth service.
It wasn't a
but
youth
at least a teaching or something for those parents that did bring their teens.
So we will go to church. We will go to church, and then it was pretty cool because you gave us the option too. And on Sundays, this is on Sundays.
Yes.
So we will
Thursdays
go to
and Sundays.
Thursdays and Sundays. So we will go to church on Sundays, and right after worship finished, you had the choice to stay and listen to pastor, or you had the choice to go to the powerhouse, the trailers, and get word from one of the leaders that you have placed.
You were one of them, right?
I was one of them that we used to teach on Sunday, and pretty much sometimes and a lot of times we would just discuss and continue whatever you preach on Fridays. But a lot of times we will stay to listen to Pastor Deacon.
So, yeah, I think, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I wasn't there. Yeah. I was usually in the service.
Yeah.
But I think that the ones that would leave probably were the ones that weren't very connected to our Friday services and to the youth church.
You were 100%.
They didn't want to hear pastor because they didn't understand the teaching of respect and honor.
And this was in Spanish.
This was in Spanish, yeah.
And we will stay there.
Yeah.
So imagine.
Yeah. And not all kids were real, you speak really good Spanish, but not everybody does. But my kids don't speak Spanish.
But we will stay. Like, it was like, it was a good thing. Yeah.
So those kids, we would give them the option, because if not, they'd probably be there disrupting or, trying to get their parents not to bring them back to church, and maybe even, so we had something for them, but our main service was Friday nights.
Correct.
Which had nothing to do with the church service.
Yeah.
So when does it meet? Whenever it's convenient for the kids, Yeah. Friday nights was good because it wasn't a school night. The next day was Saturday. We usually would go pretty late.
Yeah.
I also had the policy that I would see everyone that needed to see me right after the service.
Correct.
And sometimes I'd easily stay 2 hours. Yeah. Seeing person after person after person, and then we go out to eat. Yeah. Usually around midnight.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's important. The youth church will meet whenever it's most convenient for the majority of the teens in the neighborhood, or the teens that they're doing outreach to, and the church, obviously. Yeah. And then it also is run by a youth pastor. Yeah. Which is very different to a youth leader.
Correct.
If you're gonna do this, if you're a senior pastor and you're watching me now, if you really want to take your youth ministry to the next level, I would say that you need to put a youth pastor over that ministry, not just a youth leader. Maybe you want to make one of your youth leaders a minister and make them a youth pastor, but it needs to be run by a youth pastor.
Correct.
That has the heart.
Correct.
And this is very important, that has the heart for the teens.
Correct.
And for the youth.
Correct.
Because not every youth leader has a heart for the teens and for the youth.
Pastor, I think when you say you need to put a youth pastor, having the heart, having all those details too, something that is very important is, I believe, and it's something that you brought to, that you understood the times that your youth were living. You understood their convo. You understood their way of dressing. You understood the music they were listening. You understood the culture of what was happening in that moment.
Yeah.
A lot of times we can see a church and their youth group is not successful, and it's just, they don't want to go, and they don't, and it's because they don't connect with the youth pastor. Because maybe he's older, maybe he doesn't understand, and maybe he doesn't mean that you have to dress like them, talk like them, or be like them. But as long as you can tap into their culture and understand that, going back to, I have a daughter,
Mhm.
she's watching a movie, I might not like it, but let me see what they're tapping in.
Mhm.
And you did that. But it was a plus because you were a hip hop rapper, so you come from the streets, so it was easier for you. But that was also a part that I think that youth pastors need to understand. They have to understand the youth culture. Without that, imagine.
I encourage if you haven't seen the 4 elements of hip hop
Yeah,
that we did with DJEs,
yeah,
you need to get that because it's just so important to use the tools that the teens. And I know that not all teens like rap,
yeah, yeah,
but it's a good portion. I
yeah,
would say most of them do, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
if they like something else, they usually like rap too, you know.
Exactly.
It's like, you know, they like rap and country, or
Oh,
they
for
like rap
sure,
and
for
rock, you
sure,
know,
for sure.
whatever. But rap is usually in the equation somehow.
Yeah,
So you need to take a look at that, you
yeah,
know. But so it's important that you have a youth pastor that has a heart, and there's certain signs to look for in order to develop your youth leaders and to develop a youth pastor. I'm talking to you pastors right now, but it's so important because how do you know? You know, how do you find these people?
yeah.
Number one, this is faith. I mean, everything operates
Mm,
through faith, right?
come on.
Um, you need to know that God has given you the youth leaders, youth pastors, and those people that are going to work teen leaders. They are already in your church. You
Come on.
got to have the faith.
Come on.
You got to have the faith because you can't go in there and say, nobody wants to work with the youth. I don't have anybody. Imagine I got to do it myself, you know, because I have no one. No, God did not call you to pastor church and not give you the volunteers and the
Mm,
staff to do the ministries that God has called you to do.
so good.
They're already there.
100%. And
They're already there.
we saw them through every Friday.
We had this issue in Alpha
Yeah, yeah,
with the children's ministry.
yeah.
So they had 130 or 150 volunteers to do children's ministry
Mm-hmm.
for Sundays. And I was like, why does it take so many people? They're like, oh, because nobody wants to teach the kids 2 weeks in a row or 3, so we're putting them once a month.
Mm,
So we have for 3 services.
mm.
So we need 20, 20, and 20,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
then we can't repeat them
yeah, yeah,
because they want to listen to the word.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you remember this.
Yes, yes, of
And
course.
they asked me, can you come in? Because the youth was doing amazing. Can you step into the children's ministry and fix this?
Mm,
Can you find a solution? I go, yeah. And I said exactly what I'm saying right now. I said, the ones that we need to work with the children's ministry are here.
are in here already.
Those people are so committed to children's ministry that they don't care if they have to teach every week.
Wow,
In fact, they want to teach every week.
wow.
They can't wait to teach again.
Mm,
I go, we could narrow this down to 40 volunteers. The
wow.
people that are coming and that you're kind of forcing, and you're kind of like, look, you're a parent. Can you serve one week, because you have children?
It's not going to work, force.
It's not going to work, man.
Yeah, it's not
So
going
we
to work.
narrowed it down
Wow.
to the people, and they were teaching every Sunday. And since they had the passion to teach, they knew they couldn't hear the word.
Yeah,
So we told them, whatever service you go to, then go to the next service and hear a word.
yes,
They didn't care.
yes.
Just like, and I asked them, I said, they're like, oh, nobody wants to do that. I said, well, why do my adult leaders in the youth ministry, why do they want to come on Friday to church? Every Friday.
Mm,
I mean, now they got to come Friday and Sunday.
mm,
I'd rather just come Sunday twice.
yeah.
Serve at the 9 o'clock service, listen at the 11 o'clock
Yeah,
service,
and
and I'm done. No, my youth leaders that give me no problems,
yeah,
they come Fridays and Sundays.
come on.
And they were like blown away by that. I go, but you know why they do that? Because they love the ministry.
Wow.
So we narrowed it down. I only took the children's ministry for about 1 month.
Yeah, yeah. I remember.
I
It
put
was
the
very,
order.
I
I put
do
the
remember
order
that.
in. We got the volunteers, and no, there was issues because what happens? The children get a different teacher every week. I thought this is terrible.
Mm,
I go, the children aren't engaging with their teachers
yeah.
because they don't see them again for, I think it was 6 weeks.
Similar face.
Yeah. So what happens when they come every week? They build a bond.
Mm,
I think a couple of times kids got lost. And the children's leader didn't even know because he doesn't know the kids. But if he knows the kids because he's there every week, he's where's so and so? Wait a second, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we fixed all of these issues,
Yeah.
and it was by finding the people that have the passion. And again, I want to tell you, Pastor, they're there. They are there.
Yeah.
You just got to find them, and I'm going to tell you how to find them, and I'm going to tell you how to develop them because that's what's so important.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, you develop them just like a church develops its leaders.
Here we go, gems. These are gems. These are gems right here.
I like the word gem because my motto for I don't know how many years has been discovering and shaping or developing diamonds in the rough.
Come on.
So
you taught us that. You taught us that as youth, man.
It's everybody is a diamond in the rough. So they're there. They just got to be polished up a little bit,
Come
you know.
on.
So you're gonna find these people, and I'm gonna show you how. Number one, in order to build, if you're a youth pastor, in order to build, you got to build your core group.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just like planting a church.
Come on.
How do you plant a church?
Yeah.
You build a core group. The wrong thing to do is say, God called me to start a church, and say, next Sunday I'm planting it, I'm starting, and that's it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You develop a core group.
That's so important. So important, Pastor.
And this is how you start a youth ministry. You develop your core group. The first thing that we did when we took over, this was an existing youth ministry that was in chaos.
Yeah.
It was it, you were there. You were one of the youth that was part of the chaos.
Yes, sir.
And causing chaos and part of the chaos.
Causing chaos.
The first thing we did was we got rid of 90% of our leaders.
Yeah.
Because we inherited all these leaders.
Yeah.
And they were there on Fridays, and they were there to discipline the kids.
Exactly.
To set rules and enforce them.
Yes.
That ministry sucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not like a school.
Listen, you're in school Monday through Friday.
And then we get on Friday, and then
Friday night, more school.
More school, man. We didn't want to go.
Why would you want to go to that?
Nah, we didn't want to go, man.
I got there and I was like, I remember seeing one of our leaders that we kept that ended up becoming an amazing leader. That I actually said to myself at one point, if he's not in ministry with me, I don't want to do ministry. I won't do ministry. And then I ended up having to do ministry without him. So I learned that I could do it. But no doubt, he made it so much easier. But his name is Dirk Wybazon. And everybody loves Dirk.
Yeah. He's a teacher, I believe.
He's a teacher. He's a disciplinarian, no doubt.
Yeah.
But loves the youth.
Come on.
Has worked with emotionally handicapped children for I don't know how long. I think he's still doing it. But when I got there the first Friday, I saw Dirk standing outside of the bathroom. And I said, why are you standing outside? He goes, no, there's a kid in there. He goes, I'm counting, to make sure that he's out within the next 2 or 3 minutes. If not, I go in there and check.
Wow.
I was like,
no lie.
I go, how does this work? He goes, well, they're only allowed one at a time. They got to ask permission. And then I follow them to the bathroom and I stay outside. If they don't come out at a certain time, then I go in there. We use another leader for the girls.
Yes.
I was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I go, I don't know, man. I didn't make it to high school, unfortunately. But do you have to ask for permission to go to the bathroom in high school?
No, I don't remember asking for permission.
I think you just get up and go.
Yeah, it was like that with me. In my school, it was like
I know in college, which I did go to college. I don't know how I bypassed high school and went to college. Anyway, it was
only the Lord.
Called GED.
Come on now.
But I was a 7th grade dropout. Never even passed 7th grade. But I did go to college and I did do seminary. I did a lot of different things. But I know in college you just go because you're an adult.
Correct.
And I was like, this is the first thing that we got to change.
Yes.
We cannot treat these kids the way school treats them.
Exactly.
Or worse. Yeah. Because they don't want to be here.
Yeah.
They're tired of rules and regulation.
Monday through Friday.
They would go to retreats and everything was so structured. It was perfect. It was, bedtime and lights out at this time. And, and it was horrible.
Yes.
And no one wanted to be a part of that.
Exactly.
And so the first thing I did, and this was really hard for Dirk, and so I said, no one has to ask for permission to go to the bathroom anymore. I said, they get up and go we trust them.
Come on.
And when you trust them,
that is beautiful.
they
Wow.
feel honored. Now they feel respected.
Yes.
They don't feel like children.
Exactly.
If you want somebody to act like a child, what do?
Yes.
Treat them like a child.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're doing that. Imagine, Pastor, you had, people that are 16, 17, that are youth, teen, and that's happening. You feel like, I just need to use the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is there a guy waiting for me? Or why do I ask, why do I need to ask permission? And by you doing that, by you breaking that barrier, it taught us like, okay, they're trusting us too. So it made us not behave bad. Having the rule made us behave bad.
Yeah.
Oh, really, dog? Like
Yeah.
you're gonna stand there?
Yeah.
Now we're gonna go 5 deep to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And we will do that to Dirk.
Oh,
We
I
would show
didn't
up
even know that.
we would show up with like 6 people and be like, hey, well, we're all going to the bathroom. But the minute they took that rule, when did we ever have a problem?
No, I'll tell you what. So we had our
So
first
good.
retreat,
Yes.
which was a disaster. We weren't really doing the retreat. We were
Yeah.
part of a larger
That's
retreat.
another
Yeah.
ball game.
That's another. That was like the first week that I was there.
Monster.
I had only worked with teens that were in gangs to that point. And teens that are in gangs, and I think this really helped us.
Yeah.
Teens that are in gangs, you don't have to watch them to go to the bathroom.
At all.
You don't have to give them rules.
No.
They go to a retreat. I had done gang retreats,
Yeah.
and they never escaped. They never did pranks on each other.
Yeah.
There's respect.
Yeah.
You don't do a prank on another kid if you're in a gang.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just you're looking to get killed or shanked.
Yeah.
They didn't escape because a lot of them lived in the streets. A lot of them had to sleep outside of their house all the time. Why go to a retreat and escape? That's just silly,
Yeah.
But then we did our first real retreat where we ran it.
Yes.
And I didn't know the culture was all about mostly pranking. And listen, I don't hate pranks, but I taught this to you guys. And you were a big part of this first retreat. I know you're going to give your experience here, but I taught people this. So you go to a retreat, right? And the first night, people prank each other.
It's a must.
Yeah. Then the next day, that guy has to get you worse, and you got him.
Yeah.
And then the other guy's got to come back, and it never stops.
It never stops.
It keeps escalating.
Yeah.
At the end, somebody ends up mad because they went too far.
100%.
And now the last day of the retreat is everybody hugging and forgiving each other, right?
Yes.
Because they're brothers, and this one went too far, and I shouldn't have done it. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But what did you get out of the retreat?
Exactly.
All you did was forgive each other, and you're right back to the beginning of the retreat when you didn't have a problem. So you left the retreat with nothing.
Wow.
We're friends, but you were friends before the retreat. What did you get from God? Nothing. You were too busy pranking. And
wow.
And then escaping at night, where then you sleep all day, you don't want to get up, because you were out all night escaping, and it's dangerous. We were in the woods. We were at Camp Oisa Bauer.
Literally in the woods.
In Homestead. Yeah, this was during Chupacabra time.
Yes. where, by the way, there's a cave.
Yeah.
Which made it even more interesting.
Yeah, and alligators like crazy.
And alligators. We have a cave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the first night you guys escaped, I couldn't believe it. Because I wasn't ready for that. Because I had done retreats with teens that were in gangs.
They escaped.
We had never watched them. We had never had to worry about them escaping. It was like they were thankful to be at the retreat. And they were thankful. This is when I realized that church kids are worse than gang kids in lots of ways. In that sense, they were grateful. They slept. They got their hours of sleep because they usually don't get it, and that was never an issue. In fact, I had done 2 gang retreats at Camp Oisa Bauer.
Wow.
Which is how we went to Camp Oisa Bauer, because I already knew about that place.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this is a good place to do it. It's very rustic, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, it's all good, And then you guys escaped, and we were on a mission finding you guys, and then finally we got you out here. You were I think you were one of the main ones.
I was.
And I'll never forget, because I think this is the day you changed.
Yeah.
I went crazy on you guys.
Yeah.
And I told you how only children.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
I do remember that.
I said
we were in the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the middle of the field. It was very cold.
Yeah.
It was very cold. It was a winter. Pastor, move here a little bit, just a little
Okay.
bit, so I can get you inside.
Sure.
We're in the middle of the field, and we thought that we had done the biggest, coolest thing ever. And there comes Pastor Mario Forte, and he doesn't got a smile on his face.
Hmm.
And we got it from you.
Well, the main thing I told you though, I said, who escapes? I said, children escape.
Wow.
I go, if you all were real gangsters, you out all night, right? You up in the cut all night.
Wow.
Why would you escape at a retreat?
What's the
Well, you think
point?
you're cool because you went to the woods?
Mm.
Like, to me, you soft. Y'all punks. That's what I said. I said, you are the softest kids I ever met in my life. And I remember you started weeping and bawling.
Yeah,
You remember that?
I do remember that.
And you're the only person I remember.
I do remember.
I know it was I spoke to the group of you,
I do
but I remember you weeping and bawling and you telling me, I will never do this again.
Yeah.
I will never do this again.
Yeah.
And I think in the other, I mean, we did so many. We used to do 4 retreats a year. I've never even heard of anybody do that. You know?
Yeah.
And then we would add sometimes the youth leaders, workers.
Yeah.
Retreat. So we do 5.
Yeah.
Which a lot of that
Awesome.
was team leaders, which I'm going to get into now, and youth leaders that were adults, you know? So we could do up to 5 retreats in a year, which was totally crazy. But I'm sure people escaped a couple other times after that, but it was nothing serious.
No.
Pranks was not an issue.
Yeah.
If it was very light. It was nothing because
we understood it.
I explained it.
Yeah.
I explained it. If you don't, you know, the most powerful thing you can do for anyone is explain to them something.
Come on.
I love this story about McDonald's. I hate pickles, by the way, but the McDonald's pickles, do you like pickles?
I don't.
Okay, but you ever get a burger with pickles?
Yes.
How do they throw them in there? How many pickles and how are they stacked up? Usually 1 or 2 in the middle, right?
1 or 2 in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes you take a bite and it's not until you take the second bite. Yeah, I hate pickles.
Yes.
The way they're supposed to do it is 5 pickles, 1 in each corner and 1 in the middle.
Okay. That's
the right way of McDonald's doing it. But they never do it. I've never gotten a burger with 5 pickles. I've never seen anybody get a burger. No. There was only one McDonald's in the United States of America that was consistently getting it right.
Wow.
And you know what? The manager said it's 1 pickle per corner, 1 in the middle, so that in every bite, you have a little bit of pickle. Of course, that's for people that like pickles. That was the only McDonald's that got it right every single time. What did he do? He explained it.
Wow.
And everybody was like, oh, that's the concept. I explained. If you're escaping, number 1, you're not going to be able to get up tomorrow morning. And it's going to be off the chain.
Yeah.
You're going to miss some good stuff.
Yes.
Or you're going to sleep through it.
Yeah.
And you're going to miss it.
Yeah.
Pranks doesn't let you grow. It only takes you back, if you get lucky at the end, forgiving each other. Yeah. You got nothing out of the retreat.
Exactly.
Pranks are from the devil in a certain way. What does he do? He does something to one that you go back and forth and it escalates.
Uses that to distract you from what God wants to do.
This is what the enemy does.
Wow.
So when we took the pranks out of the way from the first night and they're not escaping, they were already growing.
100%.
The second day, in the morning, they were ready for it. They were up. They were ready. They were growing in the seminars. And then then the Saturday night, if it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday retreat, which we did much longer sometimes.
Yeah.
But if it was the Saturday night service was off the chain. Nobody was forgiving and hugging. People were getting from God. People were imparting into other people. The spirit was clear.
Come on.
And evident that it was just being poured upon the people because there was no barriers.
Yes. Yes.
And this is what I taught them why. A lot of people say, don't escape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't prank, but why? That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
In fact, this is what I heard from the other ministries.
Yeah.
The children's ministry is like, if we don't do pranks, it's not gonna be fun. Like the whole point of the retreat is a prank.
No.
I'm like, that's not the whole point of that. It shouldn't even be part of the retreat.
Wow.
That shouldn't even be part of it. Because if you get pranked and you do nothing about it, you got punked.
Yeah.
And if you do something about it and go back, it got worse.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't do anything, then he got punked.
Nobody wins.
Somebody's always getting punked.
Nobody wins.
And nobody wins. Who does that?
Yeah.
The enemy.
The enemy.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow. Wow.
so that was one of the main things. I don't know. Maybe you want to share your part of what you felt. Why I just after that I never saw you the same. After that rebuke, let's call it that, which I was
Yes.
pretty angry.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
after that rebuke, what happened?
And it was the only time, Pastor, I think that was the only time that we, I recall that being the only time that I can say Pastor was angry in that sense. We've seen you angry before, no, but for that reason, and it was like, it was a moment of the reason why I felt that way. It was because I felt God speaking to me through you in that moment. And it was a moment of God saying, man, if you want to be the leader that you want to be, if you want to be the man of God that you want to be, you need to grow up. And that's how we felt. And we were youth. So when you have an experience that way, and you're growing up, I felt in that moment, God has a calling in my life. God is stamping me right now. This is not just a regular rebuke. Pastors come and I prank, da 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 da.
That was a holy anger.
100%. And it wasn't a cry. It wasn't a cry of I was afraid. It was a cry of like, whoa.
No, I know that. I know you were
Yeah, it
crying
was like
like God was speaking to
the
you. Yeah,
spirit,
yeah,
like the spirit of God was there in that moment.
yeah. Like,
And
what am
God,
I doing?
exactly. And God used that moment to mark our lives forever. And that it just taught us that if we want to be, it taught me, if I want to be a leader, if you want to be a good man of God, if I want to be a good teen, how am I going to act and do certain things so I can get there? And that was one of them. I think that night was a night that marked our lives. It was cold. And then afterwards, you go back and you feel dumb. You feel dumb because you realize you're like, there is no purpose. And anything that God wants me to do in life has purpose and has meaning. So the hassle of getting also finances to go into the retreat, getting the parents to work to make a way, getting all these beautiful things together. What I realized is, am I gonna waste these moments of my youth on dumb things, or am I really gonna cherish this? And it was a moment of growth in my life for sure.
And I seen that because to me, you were never another problem in any
100%.
retreat.
Yes.
In fact, you became something that I want to talk about, a team leader,
Yeah.
a teen, not team, a teen
Yeah.
leader, which, like I said, and just to kind of finish that, you have to find the right youth leaders. These are adults.
Yeah.
And they're there. Like I said, God has
Yeah.
placed them in your church. You got to find them. They're like diamonds in the rough.
Yeah.
They need to be a little polished, and then you'll be ready to go. But then you need something that's very important. It's called teen leaders, because you're going to have your youth leaders. You're going to have your youth pastor. Hopefully, that's where you're at.
Yeah.
And your youth leaders are people that have a heart for the children and for the youth, that relate well with them.
Yeah.
And put them to do the things that they're good at.
Yes.
But then the team leaders are kids
Correct.
that are going to lead, and this is so important.
Correct.
They're going to be leaders, but they're going to be coming from where they are. They're going to be the ones that the other teens want to be like.
Come on.
And if you don't have teen leaders, your ministry is not going to grow. This was probably, I would say, our number one thing to develop the young people that were with us to become teen leaders. I remember that, and it was just the same. I think we actually got there, but I wanted to develop 100 teens that you could just hand them the mic and they could preach.
Yeah.
That you didn't have to tell them, a week in advance to get ready. They were always ready.
Ready.
I don't know. Did we get to 100? Do you think? I think we were close, if not there.
I believe we were very close.
Yeah.
Because being ready in and out of season was part of our culture too.
Yeah. Which I learned that the hard way.
If you want to go to the next level, in next level youth, you had to be ready in and out of season.
Yeah. So we developed these were teenagers. They were 16, 17, 18 years old. And you can't replace your youth leaders with teen leaders.
Yeah.
Because the teen leaders, although they're going to have some of these qualities that I'm going to talk about, they still are young.
Yeah.
There's still temptation.
Correct.
There's still pressure, right?
Correct.
And you're going to need your youth leaders to guide them in certain moments.
Correct.
But they're going to be treated in many ways like the youth leaders.
Correct.
Except they probably will be under one of the youth leaders.
Correct.
And serving the community and the kids. Now, finding these kids, I'm speaking to youth pastors, because the youth, a pastor won't be doing this, but a youth pastor or a youth leader, which hopefully, your pastor believes in your ministry enough to make you a youth pastor. Finding these kids and identifying them is very important.
Yeah.
And what are some things to look for? Number one, this is just the simplest way. And I used this so many times and you guys didn't even know. It's checking who has a heart to serve.
So good. Wow.
And you could wait around.
You could say that again, Pastor?
Yeah.
Who
has a heart to serve?
Wow.
And you could, wait. Okay, nobody. So we have ushers. They didn't get involved with the ushers. They didn't get involved with this or with that. So maybe they don't have a heart to serve. I would find that out real quick. Say, okay, we're going to be passing out these papers today. Who wants to help? That kid that immediately. That's your leader. That's your leader. And I would do that all the time.
Because the heart.
We had to pass out these. We got to pass out these envelopes right there. That guy.
That's him.
Sorry.
It's him.
He's up in the window. And that would be like just one of the great ways, because if you have a heart to serve,
wow, you
could be molded.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean you have everything. You might have a heart to serve and you have bad attitude in certain things, or, you don't know how to preach, or, you're not a good, but if you have the heart to serve, along with that comes teachable.
Wow.
Anybody that has a heart to serve is teachable. And if you're teachable, you could be taught.
Come on, Pastor.
So I would find those kids.
Love it.
That had a heart to serve, and I would do it. And you could do this yourself. You could just easily just do it. We got to pass out these envelopes. Keep your eye on who's the one that runs up there. Your bottled water falls down. The guy that runs over there, pick it up.
Pass the envelopes first, all of them.
Yeah. Those are your.
Is there more envelopes?
They are hungry.
Come on.
To serve, which means they're probably going to be great team leaders.
And also, Pastor, to add to that, we will always I remember that you will always teach us or make us do things for the teen leaders, some things at times that didn't make any sense, but you were looking at the ones that didn't complain and they were ready to go to say those are the ones. I give you the perfect example. And we always used to say, I think it was with Chris or Tommy, we're like, Pastor MC's like Mr. Miyagi. We were like, if you remember in the movie, he wants to learn how to fight. The kid wants to learn how to fight. Mm-hmm. What does Mr. Miyagi tells him? You got to wax on and wax off. That in his mind, he was like, man, that has nothing to do with fighting. But Mr. Miyagi was like, go stand in the corner of the boat and like. But all of those things that Mr. Miyagi taught him that kind of like did not make sense were actually moves and techniques so he can be victorious in his fight. And I think that's something that you did with us. There was things that, you know what, Prof, we need in the library, go put the stickers on the tapes for Pastor D. And we were like, oh, the stickers on the tapes? If you had that attitude, you were like, but when you were like, what? I'm going to go to the lab. Man, let's go. And you were doing that. At times, we were like, okay. Sometimes you would think about it like, why is Pastor sending us to the library to put stickers on the tape? And that doesn't make any sense, but let's go. There's something out of this. So I think that's something key that you did and you taught us to do.
And I learned that myself. You know, God taught me this a lot of times through other people.
That's awesome.
Or him directly telling me, do this, and it didn't make any sense. Just opening up the gang church in my rival's area. It didn't make any sense. The first day they pulled up with guns, Why? Because I was in my rival's area.
Will you be doing a lot of things that don't make sense as a youth pastor? Is that part of it? Can
Yeah.
you say?
Yeah, no, I did a lot of things that don't make some things I wouldn't do. And as old as I am now, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like going to Juarez when it was the most dangerous city in the world.
It was.
At that point, we
They
went
said they
to
were
Juarez.
killing 10 people a day.
Yeah, and I took 30 something of you.
Yes.
You know, now I think about it, I'm like, that's kind of crazy. I probably shouldn't have done that, you know?
But the hand of God was with us.
When I went, you know, myself to Haiti, to the top of the mountains, the worst place where the witches are, you know, and I did a revival there, and I was kind of like, why would you do this, you know?
Guatemala.
Yeah, and they kill you there, you know?
Yes.
And especially if you're white. I mean, I was in areas where they had never even seen a white person.
Yes.
They would touch me and see if my skin rubbed off.
Yes.
And then the witch doctor gets saved.
Yeah.
And the city comes to Christ.
But even though you felt that way, Pastor, now you might say like, oh man, I should have never done that. But if you think about it, you go back, you saw the hand of God through that trip. You saw how impacted the people were and how we were impacted and how we grew and how that branded our lives. That's another word, branded. Everything that we did was not just something, it wasn't just a memory. It was tattooed in our spirit. And as youth, that branded our lives and it changed and marked our lives forever. You know?
Yeah, you're right. I just, you know, maybe at the time I was younger.
Correct.
And I think now I would really think about that a lot more and the danger and this and that, you know, which is why I'm not a youth pastor no more. Youth pastors have
that
to be
jersey
crazy.
is hung already.
They have to be crazy, man.
Yeah.
And so these teen leaders are in your church.
Yes.
They're there. God has given them to you as the same as your youth leaders. By the way, vet your youth leaders very well. Do background checks, you know, that's just, so that has to be said, you know. Yeah. But your team leaders are going to be those that have a heart to serve. And then you're going to see something about them. They're like magnets. That the kids are drawn to them. Yeah. They're not always doing everything perfect. You know, they may not be your best youth, you know, the most, the one that has the most knowledge of the scriptures or this.
But they have the heart.
But they have a heart and they are magnets. The kids are drawn to them. And it might be a type of kid that's drawn to it. It might be just the football kids, you know, or it might be like in your case, you know, the rappers or those that are kind of like gangsters, you know, or it might be those that are, I'm sorry, that are studying, correct, you know, that are making a path for careers and university, whatever it might be. But they are a tool, correct, and a magnet for those kids, and they're drawn to them, you know. So they're extremely charismatic. You'll see that in them. And so after service, watch and see who the kids crowd around. You know? Correct. See who the kids flock to from the group. Yeah. You can also do this in the regular church and just check who the teens, in order to recruit your youth leaders, go to. Who do the teens go to? Who do they hang out with? Who do they talk to? That's awesome. Is there any adults in your church that for whatever reason, after service or before service, they'll have a crowd of 3 or 4 teens around them. Yeah. Again, always vet them. Correct. You know, because that could be dangerous. So they are leaders in that sense. And usually, I love this, they don't succumb to pressure. Now there is someone over them, but pressure, they don't usually succumb to it because they're usually leaders already. So they don't just do what people tell them to do. They just don't do what the other guy did, you know? I always like to say, I don't succumb to pressure. I am the pressure. Man. You know, if you get around me, you're going to convert. You're not going to influence me to join a gang. I'm going to convince you to join Jesus.
Another thing you taught us, man.
Yeah, I am the pressure.
I believe you did a teaching on that.
Yeah, it's all teaching on that, yeah.
You did a teaching on that in I think it was one of the retreats. Again, goes with our culture, man. You guys are the pressure. And you would teach us that, man. And we were like, wow.
I'm going to pressure you to receive Jesus. I'm going to pressure you to go to church. I'm going to pressure you to speak right. Wow. And to respect the women when I'm around.
Wow.
You know, I'll never forget, I was at a Dolphins game one time. And I was with one of my disciples, actually from my gang, from, old guy, they killed him. And I was with my son that was probably a baby.
Yeah.
And he had his daughter that was a baby. And then we're sitting like kind of down, and all the way at the top, there's a girl that takes off her shirt. And the guys went crazy, and they started chanting to another girl.
Miami stuff.
Yeah, take off your shirt or something. Take off your shirt.
Yeah.
And so the girl, I looked up, and the girl was like nervous. And then when hundreds of men started chanting to take off her shirt, she took it off. They're like, we got two of them now with their shirts off. So they found another woman.
Wow.
And I was like, nah, I'm the pressure. I got up on my chair, I stood up, and I said, y'all should be ashamed of yourself. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Is that a Dolphins game?
And and they all they didn't know what to do. And they sat down and they shut up. About 7 minutes later, my cousin Nestor comes down. He was sitting up there with his friend. And he goes, no, I came down, bro, because I saw what you did. And they're talking about coming down here and beating you down. So I came down here to help you because they're going to come. They're coming.
They're coming.
They're coming. I told the man, I am the pressure, dog. They didn't keep doing that. I pressured them to stop. They weren't going to pressure another woman to take off her shirt.
Wow.
That's what they were doing.
Wow.
I am the pressure. And I want to say that I heard this from Tim Tebow. But I can't say that, 100%.
It sounds like it. It sounds like a Tim Tebow.
Tim, how do you deal with the pressure of college and
I am
the girls? And he said, I am the pressure.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like him, right?
Yeah.
So, we'll give that to him.
Shout out to Tim Tebow.
Yeah, shout out to you.
And if it's not yours, we'll give it to you.
Nah, that is mine.
Yeah, then it's,
if it's not yours, it's mine.
You got to give it to him.
I heard it somewhere, but, sometimes I hear things.
Wow.
Like, I would pretty much guarantee you that Chino Life has no idea that I say all the time, the wise man learns from his mistakes.
Because of it.
The wiser man learns from other people's mistakes.
Come on.
He said that one time, and it's in here.
Well, he's going to hear it now for sure.
He's probably going to hear it now. I'm actually hoping to go to Atlanta this year.
That's awesome.
Around September,
awesome.
And seeing him,
That's awesome.
So they don't succumb to the pressure. They're teachable. They're not proud. And they love to serve. They're always the ones that are volunteering. And then these are the people that you need to groom the same way that you start a core group.
Yeah.
You should probably start a core group with those kids.
Correct.
And then you start building like we did. You don't force it, but you start building ministries.
Correct.
We did some crazy stuff, which I think one of the things, and I don't know if you ever did one specifically, but I know that you know about it. We just called it next level large events.
Yes.
So what we would do is that we would tell one or two, usually it was two teenagers, to host a large event on a Friday night. They were in charge of the band, the music, the scheduling, the preacher.
Oh dear.
We didn't give them a limit on budget because we had plenty of money, which is another important thing between youth churches and youth groups. Youth groups barely collect any money.
Yes.
Youth churches, the kids tithe. They learn to tithe. I don't know what your position is on tithe, but I believe in tithe. And they tithe, they give. I don't know if it still stands, but the largest one-time gift back then given to our church was given by one of our youth. One-time gift.
Man.
He got a lawsuit.
Man.
And he tithed from that, and it was huge. And it was the largest. We had some millionaire people, hundreds of millions of dollars in their accounts.
Yeah.
And the number one donor
was a
youth. So of course they'd spend, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on an event like this. We're not going to say no, Plus the leadership that they were developing, they were learning how to pull off and everything that goes into basically every Friday night. Because every Friday night was almost like a large event, but these large events were even larger.
Wow.
They were in charge of marketing. They were in charge of, everything. Did you ever do one or no?
Yes. I definitely participated in that. And it was.
Which one were you involved with?
Pastor, I think we did something. I think we had brought down Landon, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
It was one of them, and I just remember It was I remember being involved in that with Tommy Diego, and
And
just
Rich.
yes,
So
Rich.
that one was punked.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. And
Rich
we,
and Tommy did punked.
yeah, and then, so I was involved in
You
that.
were part of the
Yeah, part of the, just creating,
organizing.
helping,
Yeah.
organizing ideas. I rapped too in it.
You performed, yeah.
So we performed, we did
Mhm.
all of that, but it felt good because we had the freedom to do that. And you guys was just, checking us what we were doing, making sure everything went smoothly. But it felt so good knowing that our youth pastor trusted us also with an event, and that was a big thing for us. It was like, wow, like they're trusting us, and that made us grow
Act more
even,
mature.
act more mature, and grow even more. You know.
That is to me, the reason why we did that was for that, because I always had the vision, and I don't know if I ever shared this with you. I probably never have, at least not like this. But I had the vision for all these youth to do ministry,
Yeah.
and I knew that at some point that some of them were going to be pastors, youth
Wow, pastor.
pastors, this and that, and
Oof.
that they would have to learn how to preach on a whim. They would have to learn how to put together events, how to manage
Man.
a church.
Wow.
And so this is what we were doing. So we're saying now to Tommy and Rich, which Rich is a pastor,
Now,
and he's pretty successful at his
Miami,
church.
Florida.
Yep, he's a senior pastor,
Yeah.
and we were telling them, I see in you, I have this vision for you,
Mm.
and I know that you're going to be a ministry,
Wow.
and I want you to learn from here. And they did the marketing. They brought Landon, because I think Landon was their youth pastor.
Yes,
They were
correct.
probably at Rod Parsley's at the time.
Yes, correct.
And Landon was a youth pastor at
He
Rod
was.
Parsley's.
He
I'm
was.
just kind of, I'm not saying this for sure,
Yeah.
but I think that's what happened. In charge of the marketing, in charge of the finances, in charge. And people say, but we don't have money like that, Pastor. We could never pull something like that off. But this is why you have to change your mentality.
Come on.
You need to start teaching your youth to give, because you never know if the largest donor in the church is going to come from your youth ministry.
Come on.
You never know if some of those youth are going to end up in ministry full time,
So good.
like Pastor Rich. And then teach them. This is so important. Teach them the word, and teach them the word deep. We respected the kids enough to give them the word. No lie.
Come on.
I would preach on Friday, and I'm sorry, Pastor Delgado. Don't get mad at me for this one. But I would preach on Friday. He'd be like, hey, I need you to preach for whatever reason. Sometimes in the 3 services on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to preach what I preached on Friday.
Which it was a plus for us. Yeah, Pastor also is preaching on Sunday.
But you know what happened on Sunday? I had to bring it down a notch for the adults. Because our youth ministry,
raw,
listen, I was a teacher in the Bible Institute.
Yes.
And we had our school of youth, which was not with any type of credits or anything. It was just something that we created.
Yes.
The school of youth. And I taught the same class to the adults that I did to the children or the youth. And it was deeper.
Come on.
Than it was to you. People say, how could that be? The devil doesn't say they're too young. The devil never says, oh, no, I'm not, I'm going to wait till they're 18. No, you're born. And almost immediately the devil, is sexually molesting children that are 1, 2, 3 years old. He's introducing you to drugs. I smoked marijuana for the first time at 8. I started smoking cigarettes at 12. I ran away from home at 12. He didn't say, oh, he's too young to run away from home and join a gang. He's too young to start using hard drugs. He's only 12. No. But in church, we play games. In church, we prank. In church, we play these little games. In church, we treat the kids like if this is Sunday school classes for children.
Coloring books.
And we don't believe in them.
Wow.
We don't see them as our future. We don't see them as the next pastor. We don't see them as an evangelist, a prophet, whatever it might be. We don't have that vision. And so we talk down to them. And people say, oh, but if you shoot too high, this is what I always said. Oh, if you shoot too high, the kids that are coming, that just came in, they're not going to get it. But I would always say, I'd rather shoot high for these kids that are already high.
Yeah.
because these that are down here, if these grow, they're going to be able to help these down here more.
Yeah.
So I shoot for the high. I shoot high.
Wow.
I want, of course, I will always incorporate a sinner's prayer or whatever.
Correct.
But I'm shooting for my teen leaders. I don't want them to be like, church is sorry. I come here and they're teaching like these sorry stories. No. I want them to come to church and learn the word.
Correct.
And if this guy down here is like, I didn't get it. It was too much for me. When he goes to their cell group, they're going to break it down.
Come on.
Because we had teen cell groups.
Yeah.
And so the problem is that we treat our children, and that's why I took away the roles. You don't have to be watched to go to the bathroom. You know, you in the youth retreats, which were incredible because we took away the pranking. Yeah. At least a serious pranking. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there's always going to be. I mean, my wife might prank me. I walk out the door, and she scares me. You know,
of course,
but just not that serious. No.
Yeah.
So we took that stuff away, and it was so powerful in the retreats. And then we did seminars or conferences where there was breakout rooms, and like the adults, the youth were allowed to choose.
Correct.
Out of the 4, which one is best for me?
Which one to go to?
We also would let them, if you're in prayer, you could be in the church till whatever time you want. If you're talking about the Lord, you could be talking about the Lord. We don't care if you go to sleep at 6 in the morning. Correct. You could be, but there's going to be one leader in there just to make sure everything's cool, you know?
Correct.
And the moment you guys are clowning or you're trying to rap to a girl, you know, because you like her, then we're going to send you to your room. Other than that, you could stay up.
Yeah.
Bro, there was retreats where kids were praying. I never forget Pastor Delgado's son, Albert. I went to sleep and I woke up at 7 in the morning and I walked into this temple and there was still at least 20 youth just worshiping God from the night before. And Albert, pastor's son, was just at the altar just yelling, Jesus, I love you. I felt ashamed of myself because I went to sleep. You know? And this is what started to be created as we started to give respect, the culture, to the kids. And yes, giving them that culture of we're going to treat you like an adult. Then they could sleep. They had to go to the conference. We didn't let them miss that. But we would have breakfast early. They could go to breakfast if they wanted to or not. It wasn't like, that was the most stressful thing in the very few first retreats. 7 o'clock in the morning, hey, wake up. We have breakfast, you know. Come on, you got to get dressed. You got to take a shower. No. Now they could go straight to the first conference at 9:30 in the morning if they wanted to sleep in because they were out late praying or whatever. They didn't have to have breakfast. It didn't matter because lunch was coming soon. Yeah. You know, then we did it even better. We're like, forget breakfast. We're going to take donuts and coffee to every room.
That's so true.
Yeah. So that they don't have to get up so early.
Yeah. They get up early every day to go to school.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
You don't want to, do that. I mean, still, they got to be up by 9 or something. Of course. But I mean, if you got to go to breakfast, you got to do all that and straight from breakfast, you got to be up at 6:30, 7 in the morning. It's not the same thing. Come on. And getting up at 8:45.
Raw and uncut, teaching us responsibility. Mm-hmm. Raw and uncut, teaching us responsibility and giving us the word of God, Pastor, in a way that we understood, but it wasn't a little story or it wasn't a fairy tale. Like you were teaching us. You were teaching us and you were giving us the Bible served raw and uncut. And that's what made the difference in us. It wasn't a Sunday school. This wasn't papers and let's color with the whale that, Jonah and
I think this is the problem with most youth pastors.
Wow.
They think that their teens can't listen. And then we're taught, and I think this is a lie of the devil, that the kids' attention span, I forget what it is. What is it?
They say 10 to 15 minutes.
10 to 15 minutes. So you got to wrap up your sermon in 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Break that down, Pastor.
Why is it a lie?
I have believed that. So
when you were in school, high school,
yeah,
did you already have block periods?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When I went to school, well, I don't know. We had 1 hour. So you guys had 2 hours.
Yeah, we had block periods.
Why does the public school system believe in you enough to keep you for 2 hours in the same classroom? Yeah. And church says 10 or 15 minutes.
What?
Are we being lied?
Wow. Come on.
When I was there, it was an hour.
Yeah.
But church, you better hurry up. You better say a couple jokes, do a calling, and finish this.
Wow.
Because if not, you lost them. No, you know who you lose in 10 to 15 minutes? adults.
Come on.
You know why? Teens are in school all day, thinking, learning. They're exercising their brain.
Yeah.
Most adults have jobs where they don't exercise their brain. They do the same thing over and over and over again.
Wow.
And even if it's, if it's in accounting, it's just numbers. That's all you do,
Yeah.
A lot of us are not challenged.
Yeah.
And so your mind is not a muscle, but it's like a muscle.
Wow.
If you don't exercise it, it just doesn't work properly.
Wow.
So you'll see my attention span is pretty short. But as a kid, I could sit down in a gang meeting and listen to my leader for 2 hours, and I'd barely blink. I'd barely
Wow.
blink because this is what I was being trained to do. Youth, listen, can do much more than what we ever imagined.
Amen.
The devil is not waiting on them. We shouldn't be waiting on them and saying, oh, we can't talk to them about sex. We can't talk to them about this. We can't talk to them about that. We can't go so deep in the word because they're still too young. We're going to wait till they get to church. If you wait till they get to church age, the devil's already been working with them for probably 18 years.
They can be deep in the world, but not deep in the word.
I know kids that have been sexually molested at 1.
Wow. Wow. Oof.
It happens.
Come on, Pastor.
It happens. I know plenty of kids that have been sexually molested at 4 or 5. And I know 1 out of every 2 males by the time of the age of 18 have been sexually molested. And 2 out of every 3 girls.
Wow.
Well, here we are waiting. They're not ready. What do you mean they're not ready? They're being molested. They're being introduced to drugs. The school is believing in them and giving them 2-hour block periods. They're not making it shorter. They're making it longer. When I was there, it was 1 hour. Now it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
When you look, it's going to be 3 hours.
Yes.
Because they know that they have the capacity. And in the church, we don't believe in our youth.
Wow. And it never felt, Pastor, you know what? It never felt that way in our youth group. It never felt it was a fast thing because you went deep in the word. There were times that, I don't know if you remember, there were times that you would kind of like finish. I remember this happening a lot of time, and it became part of the culture of Next Level. It wasn't called Next Level because it was a cool name. It was an ordained name by God, Next Level, because everything we did, we went to the next level. So when you preach to us, there was times that you would preach to us and you would preach an hour and 30 to us, and we were there, and you would, we will finish, and then we would do the prayer, we will do ministering, but then ministering would start happening, and we were still there.
Yeah.
And then we were like, nah, sometimes people will tell you, Pastor, we need to hear more word, and we will sit down. So we forgot about going out to eat, and we were getting out of there 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, because you just finished preaching, and people are laid out. That means that we want more.
It's hunger. When I travel, I see this in other countries.
Yeah.
I can't remember what country it was. I think it was Guatemala. It could have been Mexico, where I preached, and I preached a good, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I preached long to the youth, but when I preached to the adults, which was all the time, it was 30 minutes. Because I know they'd be zoning out. I know myself. I'm an adult. I know. But I preached a good 45 minutes, and then I turned it over to the pastor, and I sat down, and the pastor said, can you come back up? And I said, yeah. I go, okay. He goes, do another one. And I was like, do another what? He goes, another sermon. And I said, another sermon? He goes, yeah. So I said, you sure? He goes, yeah. So I did that sermon. And then I sat down again, and he goes, can you come back up? I go, what? He goes, can you do another sermon? And I was like, I think it was Mexico. I think it might have been that trip that we did, possibly. Because there was youth leaders with me and, team. And I said, well, she can give another message. And then.
Oh, that was Mexico.
That was in Mexico, right?
That was in Mexico.
And then it was like 4 of you went and preached. I don't know if you were one of them.
Yes.
I gave 2 sermons. They gave 4 sermons. It's hunger, man.
Yes.
When people are hungry, they want more.
Yes.
And you get the teens hungry by doing these things.
Wow.
Number 1, believing in them. Believe in them. Respect their calling. Respect them as people. Usually in school, unfortunately, they are not respected. They're students. You do what I say. I'll never forget a teacher had a problem with one of my sons. And and they went at it. They almost had a fight, you know, and they was pushing. And then they said, your son is expelled from the school for this. And I said, and the teacher? They're like, no, nothing. He's the teacher. I go, oh, okay. So the teacher can get into a pushing and shove match with my son, and my son gets expelled from the school, but nothing happens to the teacher. They're like,
Wow.
yeah, because they have
Wow.
to respect the teachers.
Yeah.
I go, okay, sit right there. I picked up my phone. I said, I'm calling the police.
Wow.
They're like, for what? I go, I'm charging him with child abuse.
Wow.
Physical child abuse. I go, in the real world, a man cannot have a pushing and shove match with a kid.
Correct.
In the school, the kids have to respect the teachers.
Correct.
I said, so you can expel my son, but you got to fire the teacher or I'm calling the police.
Wow.
Then, well, we won't, okay, we won't expel him. And he changed. And they said, but what is your suggestion? I go, how about you treat them with respect? If you treat kids with respect, they'll respect you back. You can't expect to be respected when you treat them like, hey, shut up, shh, be quiet.
Mm.
Hey. That's what they used to do to them. I'm not your dog.
Yeah.
This is what the youth leaders used to do. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I'm not a dog, man.
No, I want to be a part of this.
How about, hey, this is really good, man. Listen, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, please, everybody's trying to listen, man, not in front of the whole crowd.
Yes.
Just embarrassing them. That kid ain't coming back.
Yes.
And you say, well, if that kid doesn't come back, then that might have been one of your great leaders that you just chased away. How many of my great leaders didn't do bad stuff? Like you.
Yeah.
And turned out to be some of my best leaders.
Yeah.
But you have to believe and respect the calling upon the lives of these kids. Remember the story with my grandson?
Yes.
My grandson taught me about a rapper at 8 years old.
Wow, Pastor.
That I had no care to learn about.
Mm.
But I respected him as a human being. We can learn from anybody, bro. In fact, everything's a teachable moment if you allow it to be.
Come on.
This is why I remember quotes.
You love quotes, man.
I learned them because I'm absorbing. I'm not looking. Chino, when he said that quote, I was a pastor already for 20 years.
Well,
Chino was starting in the ministry. Now he's a senior pastor.
Wow.
He's doing amazing. He's in Atlanta. He's a great man of God. But at the time, he was in his rap days,
Yeah.
Maybe he was a youth pastor already. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was at VU. He was at VU.
He was at VU already back then?
He was at VU with youth pastoring, helping youth pastoring at VU.
At that time?
At that time.
Okay,
yeah.
But listen, I didn't sit there and say, I'm way older than this guy, man.
Correct.
Chino's like my great-grandson or something. Because he got saved through somebody that got saved. They got saved through somebody that got saved with me.
Wow.
So I'm not sitting there being, what am I going to learn from him? I'm listening. I'm absorbing what you say. There's some things that you've said here already.
Yeah.
That I'm not sitting here being like, oh, come on. I'm not going to learn. No, I'm learning this stuff.
Yeah.
As we go, I'm learning some things that you said that I'm like, whoa, this is powerful,
Correct.
So next level, large events. I'm sure we could have found a better name for it.
No.
Just large events,
Yeah.
I don't know why I chose that name because I wanted to know it was big.
Correct.
This is big. This is not your typical Friday night, which was always huge anyways.
Yeah.
No, this is for us. It's already big, large. So I wanted them to catch that vision. And I guess that's where it
was
came
a vision. It was a vision for the youth, and it was a vision. It was a way of life in our lives. How are you going to go to the next level in everything that we do? You will always teach us that. How are you guys going to go to the next level in everything that you do? Your next level with the relationship with God, your next level in prayer, your next level in school, your next level with your relationship, your next level in boyfriend and girlfriend, walking towards getting married, your next level. Every single Friday night, we went to next level to go to the next level, and we will go to the next level. We wouldn't leave Friday nights the same, Pastor. That's what people have to understand. I don't remember a Friday just saying, bro, it was so whack. I just remember every Friday feeling blessed, feeling alive, and feeling challenged to go to the next level. and feeling respected as youth.
And then incorporating retreats to that.
Come on.
Just missions trips.
Man.
Oh, that's another thing. We do all these retreats, then we do mission trips.
On top of that.
Yeah, so we're like 8 weeks
Yeah.
of the year we were booked doing something, you know?
Come on.
So large events were a way of developing teen
Yes.
leaders. Teen leaders. This was not done by my youth leaders.
No.
It was done by my teen leaders.
Correct.
Then we had them start learning, this is why we had 100 kids
Yeah.
that could grab the mic, because we did youth life groups.
Youth life groups.
And my whole mission with this, I don't even know if I told you this, I probably told my youth leaders this. The whole purpose was to learn to pastor at a smaller level.
Yeah, correct.
If I put you in charge of a youth life group, a cell group, however you want to call it,
Yeah.
My idea was you're going to learn everything it takes to pastor. The large events taught you how to put together a large event as an evangelist or whatever. But the life groups taught you how to pastor on a day-to-day basis. You say, well, how's that? Okay, so at a life group, number one, you got to learn how to pray.
100%.
Because people are going to come up, if you're a leader, they're going to ask you to pray for them.
100%.
You got to learn how to teach.
Yes.
Because you're teaching week in, week out. You got to learn how to prepare a sermon. You got to learn how to do follow-up. Because if you don't do follow-up, nobody's going to show up.
Correct.
You got to learn how to evangelize. Because if you don't evangelize, there ain't going to be no new people coming.
100%.
You're going to have to learn how to pray for the sick. Because there's going to be people that are sick. You're going to have to learn how to do counseling.
How to minister to you.
How to minister to people. Because people are going to come to you afterwards. Man. And they're going to want you to counsel them. Yep. So to most churches, life groups is a way of keeping people busy.
Correct.
And it's a way of them connecting in a large church to a smaller group of people. Nothing wrong with that idea.
Correct.
It's just that my vision, I think, went a little bit beyond that.
Next level.
It was next level. It was the leader. I'm developing him for pastoral ministry. If anything ever happens, if they pastored a life group, because they did.
Correct.
Once you have people under you, you are pastoring them. And they did a good job. They will be able to take my place in the youth ministry, possibly. They'll be able to open a church, launch a church, be a church planter. We taught them everything through life groups, because a life group is a small church.
Correct. Simple as that. It was a moment of us. You know, now that I'm hearing you say that, Pastor, that's what you guys were teaching us the entire way. Because by the time we were done, let's say being youth, right? Also, which I believe was 19, right? Where at 19 you will stop being like part of the or graduated high school.
Yeah,
I believe that once you graduated high school. Mm-hmm. With that said, to pick on that, it's like you graduate high school and you were teaching us all those things. So how to pastor, you're like, okay, I'm no longer part of the youth ministry as a youth, but I still want to continue here. Mm-hmm. Now I'm a leader. Yeah. Now I'm a leader, and I went through all these experiences, you know, the cell groups, and now I think that was key on why us being ready in and out of season and learning, you know, because you saw a lot. This guy's going to end up pastoring. This guy's going to end up doing ministry. Some of them are doing ministry right now. Some of them have a church, some of them, but it also taught us, you know, maybe one of them were going to be a doctor, a teacher, all of those, excuse me, all of those, all of that season of our lives. Once we graduated from being the youth, if that's even the correct way of saying it, man, all of those gems and all of those keys for us were like, I know how to run my home. I can run my home. I can run my business. I'm a good husband because at 14, they were teaching me about love. They were teaching me about respect. They were teaching me about finances. So I'm learning how to love my wife, learning how to, you know, taking care of, like, learning in moments of chaos. What would happen when something would go wrong?
Because it did go wrong.
Because a lot of things go wrong. All the events
happens.
All the events were not perfect. All the events were not. So you also taught us in moments of chaos how not to. This wasn't. I want people to understand, the people that are watching, that none of this was an emotional butterflies feeling type little ministry. This was done raw, uncut, to the next level. Lessons of lessons of lessons to be better in life and have a stronger relationship with Christ as a youth.
So we were training them in leadership. That's what we were doing. Whatever it might be.
You were training us in whatever.
My thing is pastoring, so I was teaching them leadership through pastoring.
Come on.
Now that could be applied because we have kids that are doctors now. We have kids that are super successful. We have millionaires. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Business owners that came from that group, and a lot of what they learned was the structure that we gave them.
The success that they have now.
And now, yeah. So they fall back on that. And I get this all the time. They reach out to me, Pastor, I learned this, I learned that. And it's just, and it's true, you know? And we gave them that to be able to develop their skills, their leadership skills, which I knew was in there.
Yeah.
And I knew they had it. Yeah. And so that was done through life groups. Life groups are an incredible tool to develop kids and youth to be pastors, possibly ministers, and to be leaders, either in your group or. So this is why, I don't know how many life groups we had, but we could just, you know, I could, and which I did it. I did it a lot, actually. And I would just be like, preach.
All the time.
Because all the life group leaders were constantly teaching and preaching, and it wasn't a big deal to them.
Come on.
They could just grab the mic and preach. Yeah. How many adults can you hand the mic to?
Come on.
And be like, preach. They'll be like, I have no idea what to say. I'll never forget one day we were in church with Pastor Delgado. I was sitting in the front. There was a huge thing that happened. Somebody ran up to the altar, gave him some terrible, crazy news. And he just looked at me and said, and I went up and he goes, preach.
That's it.
What I did to all the kids.
That is.
And he walked out because it was really bad news, you know?
It's a good way of asking yourself as a youth pastor, am I the only one preaching?
Mm-hmm.
Can my youth preach? Can my leaders preach? It's another way. So you can say you're in trouble if you're the only one that can preach in the youth ministry, right, Pastor? Yeah. If you're the youth pastor and nobody else can preach,
yeah, you're in trouble. You're not doing something right.
You're not doing something right, for sure.
Yeah, so we did that. We had another ministry called Soul Seekers, and Soul Seekers, you know, implied a lot of different things. But one of the things we did was, so we discipled kids, and we used the 12 system, the model, the Jesus model, where everybody has 12. So I had my 12. And I told my 12 that we were going to do a Soul Seekers competition. I don't know if you'll remember this, but maybe as I talk about it, you'll become more aware. And I said, I want you each to come up with an idea of evangelizing. I said, and I want you to figure out a way to go out into the streets and bring people to Christ. Yeah. And everybody, you know, just put your idea together and then use your 12 and down.
I remember
you
that.
know, to do whatever event it is that they wanted to do. So we had, I never forget, one of our leaders, this was all teen leaders, did a MySpace party. I never even heard of such a thing. That thing was crazy. So on MySpace, she announced this party. Everybody came. She had DJs, and again, they were given the funds to do it. Obviously, I'm like, you know, you're not gonna fly in on a jet, you know. But they were given the funds needed to make it happen. I'll never forget Geraldine, one of our leaders, who now is in ministry at the VU, and Nick. She thought of going out with a camera, which this now a lot of people do. But back then, I didn't see a lot of people doing it with a camera. She went to South Beach and just stopped people and said, let me ask you a question. And then she would evangelize to them.
That.
And I'll never forget, she called me from the beach. She goes, hey, Pastor. She goes, I'm here at the beach. I'm with one of your gangsters. I ran into him. And I said, really? And I go, who? And she told me his name. And I said, listen to me, run. She's like, well, what do you mean? I go, I'm serious. Take off the camera and walk away and get out of there. This guy is highly dangerous. Like, you're in trouble. Yeah. She ran into one of the people that she interviewed. We did something at a park with a basketball competition.
Yeah.
Were you involved in any of that?
Yeah. Mine's, we went to Coconut Grove and we were rap.
You did a rap thing. Okay.
So we did the rap thing, which the police kind of like came and they kind of like broke it up because this was old Coconut Grove days where they had the water fountain like in the middle. Yeah. Remember the big water fountain?
Yeah.
So we would stand there in a circle and I did two things. I would beatbox and then some of them were rapping, then I would rap. So there was a big circle that would happen because we were rapping.
Yeah.
It was funny because some people give us money, but that wasn't the.
Yeah, it wasn't.
You know, they
thought you were out there for money.
Yeah, they thought that we were out there for money, but little did they know we were inviting them to next level. And many times police came and they split it up, and I would be like, "Hey man, we're rapping about Jesus, man. We're not rapping about nothing bad. We were just But they were like, "You causing commotion. It's too much commotion." But we were being the pressure.
You guys didn't win though.
No, we didn't.
There was a competition.
We didn't win. No,
if I'm correct, it was Ozzy that won. His name was Ozzy.
Yeah.
At the park with the basketball. And I think Nick was involved in that.
Yes.
Nick Delvento, who is a minister now also, right?
Yes. Great man of God.
Yeah, tremendous man of God. He got saved at one of our events, which I want to talk about to finish off.
Great man of God and great businessman too. Yeah. Amazing.
Business-minded guy.
Yeah.
Involved in gangs.
Yeah.
And got saved at one of our events, and the rest is history. But yeah, so again, helping them think outside of the box.
Yeah.
What can I do to pull off and this for the park? You guys, I don't think you guys did your homework, right? But
we didn't.
They got a permit.
Yeah,
they
we
got
didn't.
The park to approve it. They got food. They did it. That's why they won. They had probably 100 decisions.
We thought we were gonna win. Let me give you a breakdown. We thought we were gonna win because we was like, man, we do this.
Yeah.
Like we rappers.
Yeah.
Like as soon as we press play on the boombox, everyone's gonna come. So we're like, we got this on lock. Like, cause we're so used to going and rapping through the ministry, through the gang ministry. So we thought we got cocky and it was a humble lesson. The Lord was like, nah, man, this is not the way it works.
I think you chose the wrong place.
And I think we chose the wrong place.
If you'd have gone to the hood, nobody would have cared, but you're in the Gables.
Exactly.
No, we don't like
we had some kids that were like, maybe we should go to Coconut Grove. I was already involved in the gang ministry, and I had mentioned that. I said, I know a spot in Pirine, but a lot of kids were like, no, we're not going in there.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay. So it was a humbling experience because we thought we were going to win just because we rapped.
Through this, we're developing leadership skills.
100%.
We're getting them to think outside the box. I'm not telling them what to do. They're creating their own things.
You're breaking fear.
Breaking fear. I mean, just incredible. So Soul Seekers was these competitions. And then on top of that, it was a group of youth that served on Friday nights that were at the door when a new person came in without a friend. And they would show them around the church, and they would sit with them in the youth ministry, and they would connect with that person so that person didn't feel like I came here all by myself. I don't know anybody. I'm not part of the group.
Come on.
Immediately after church, they, oh, look, I want you to meet this person and that person. And they would get to meet me. They would take them into the office and be like, I'm going to show. And the person was like, wow, I got to meet the youth pastor.
Yeah.
I met a lot of the cool people that were even up on the stage.
The rapper youth pastor. That's what they say. We want to meet the rapper youth. Where's the pastor? The rapper youth pastor all the time.
So it was great. Soul Seekers did that. And then on top of that, we gave a contest every month of who brought the most people to church. That most visitors.
That kept it alive.
We would get the 2 or 3 top people, and then the gift was always, and I mean, I don't want to make it, it's not being cocky, but it's what it was. The gift was they would hang out with Maria and I for one night. Yeah. And we would take them out and we'd do all kinds of stuff, with them, take them to a really nice restaurant, take them to GameWorks, go to a theme park or something. And you're like, well, hanging out with you, that's not too cool, but it was a big group.
It was a big group.
And so by, being able to hang out with us, we would get to know them better. And remember, who was winning the Soul Seeker competitions?
Yeah.
Usually the monthly ones, not the evangelism events, were probably my leaders. Were kids that were leaders that I needed to meet.
Yeah.
That I probably wouldn't have met had we not done that. So now what happens? A night with them, 4, 5, 6 hours.
Yeah.
Intimate in a restaurant, going out, picking them up in our car.
Come on.
All of a sudden, there's a connection there with leaders.
100%.
Great event, great thing, Yes. We had our youth ushers. We had our own ushers.
Yes.
We had our youth band. Which was incredible, by the way.
Yes. Hands down.
The church said, we want these guys. Can you play Friday and Sunday for us? And
Yeah.
and they switched to Sundays.
Amazing.
And some of them became too much. We had to get some new ones.
Yeah.
We continue to get new people. And let me tell you, this was not easy.
Yeah.
We started out with volunteers, missing, I can't show up tonight, no drummer, no this, no that. We all go through that. It's like planting a church.
Yeah.
But we started to collect enough money where we put a budget to hire some professional musicians, at least a few of them. And you say, man, professional musicians for you? That's the respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not, oh, this is Friday night. Anybody could come up here and sing whatever. They're not that important. No. This got to be incredible.
Yeah.
This worship has to take you to another level.
Yeah.
Because after this, the word's coming.
Come on, Pastor. And these were musicians that were professionally, and some of them still are professionally, playing gigs all over the United States, different churches, in front of thousands, in front of hundreds, singers, drummers,
worship leaders, everything.
Some of the best drummers I've ever seen, no lie, have gone through the youth. And besides the youth ministry having a budget saying we can afford a band, let's honor, let's pay for them. It wasn't just about the pay, because they were part of it. Like, they really felt, well, I'm not just collecting a check. I'm part of the youth. I want to.
We get singers, Prof, that charge for a night.
Yeah.
$10,000.
Yeah.
And we had them come for free.
Yeah.
And it's like they just wanted to experience what was that. These youth retreats.
And you know how you would know that their heart was in it, because these people wouldn't play, and then you know how people just play and then you start preaching, and then where's the band?
Yeah.
No, they would sit there.
Yeah.
They would sit in the front and they would listen to you, and they would be like, I wanna, I want to listen to the message. I want to listen to Pastor. And they just became part of us. They became part of Next Level. We were just like, man, it was very powerful for us, Pastor.
So we incorporated, these are some things you could start doing, once you start growing, once you identify, starting with one or two life groups. Then we just continued to grow, and we took it to the next level. We started the School of Faith.
Correct.
The School of Youth. I'm sorry, we called it the School of Youth, and there we started really getting deep into theology, really teaching kids the Word. We had, every summer we did the School of Youth, and we'd easily have 30 to 50 kids involved, and it was great because we'd teach all the way from, I think it was 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and then at 1 o'clock it was lunchtime, but then we'd do something. Yeah. Every day we'd go bowling, we'd go here, we'd go there, and just hang out with them, which there's nothing wrong with having fun. It just can't only be about fun, Exactly. We started our hip hop ministry, which was incredible. Rap recording artists from our group. You're one of them. We started to really get serious going into the school. The school ministry was incredible. Went to every high school in Dade County. During public school hour, we're going to do a whole teaching on that.
Come on.
And not Bible Club, which is not, Bible Club is kind of like the youth group. It's inwardly for, it's a support group for Christians before and after school, or before or after school, or during lunch. No, we went in during school hours. We went in and filled up the auditorium. Every school in Dade County, every school, multiple times. And we're going to teach you how to do that. That ministry was incredible.
Correct.
We did the Team Victory, which was a ministry. I'll be uploading a video soon. We'll break bricks and this and that, and chains and bending, prison bars with our mouth and crazy stuff. I led that group, and we did so much with that group. We did that. We did the hip hop dancing with the thugs that were incredible. We talked about in the rap one. We'd go to any school, even schools that were, art schools where they have teaching. They have dancers.
Correct.
And they would do dance-offs and win every single time. They never lost.
Yeah.
The rappers
dancers.
Like you.
We had some great dancers.
They never lost.
We had some great dancers.
We had great dancers. We had great rappers. How about beatbox? We do beatbox competitions.
Yeah.
No one ever beat you at beatbox. Never. We never lost.
No, we never.
This is how good they were. And a lot of the people that were doing this were in high school.
Yes.
So they'd ask for like the day, not to go to school that day to be with us. And we'd take turns because we had so many of them.
Yes.
We're like, today we're taking this one, today we're taking that one. And we try to take the thugs and the rappers and the Team Victory.
People believe that ate a radio, Pastor. That was the thing, right?
That was, yeah, we say he ate a radio, and everybody's like, and then you start with the, which that was just incredible.
Pastor, a side note to all of this, man, a side note to all of this, and we'll bring it back, that this ministry, and I don't want to say program, but this ministry ran with such excellence. You know how many people now that I know that are older, that are married with kids, and I say this respectfully to other youth groups, will come hear you preach, or will sneak out of their youth groups and come to our youth group to take notes and take it back.
Your wife?
Yeah. My wife would tell me, that she will sneak out of her youth, man, because she just didn't, it was, nothing was happening. And she felt like they're not understanding me. So she will go in with enough time to like go to her youth, right? Skip. So you're skipping. You're skipping her youth group to go hear you preach and then go back. Before they finish.
Wow,
but
crazy.
A lot of the things I remember that we did, and again, I didn't know she was my wife at that moment. But she did an event, and she had hired LP, the rec label that we were in, and they did a big event. And I remember talking to them, and I remember that it was kind of like the first time that we had met. And she said, I learned this because of Next Level. Like all of this that you see here is because of the events that you do. And there was no social media at the time. There was people will come, and including big pastors now, I wouldn't say any names, that have big churches in Miami.
Mega churches
will come, and I'll speak to them now, and they're like, bro, I will go on Fridays, man, and I will go listen to Pastor Forte, Pastor MC, take notes, and take it back, man.
So we're not just talking about something that we heard.
No.
I'm telling you our life experience.
We were influence. We were influence other people, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's like, that's what we wanted to do. And the reason why we're doing this also, and the reason why Pastor's doing this, it wasn't because we just want to keep this to ourselves. It's like, this is how we do it.
We want to pressure you.
We want to pressure you. Pressure youth,
Yeah, we're here to pressure you right now. That's what we're trying to do.
Come on.
Pressure you to do more ministry, to do better ministry, to take whatever it is that you do to the next level. That's
a good pressure.
Yeah, it's a good pressure. It's a godly pressure.
Wow.
God nudging you, amen, to do more, to do better.
Come on.
And that's what we were doing. And this is why I'm doing this now, because I believe that God told me share it. Now it's time.
Wow.
Now it can be told. I hadn't been able to share all these things.
Yeah.
Before, until God gave me the okay. And God gave me the okay a few months ago. So I'm making these videos. I'm doing all this because I want to leave behind what we did. And the last thing, man, I don't know how much time we have left, but hopefully we don't get cut off here.
No. We don't. We still, let me see the chat. We still got a couple of minutes, Pastor.
Okay, so the last thing, and it's the greatest event I've ever been a part of. And I've been a part of a whole lot of big events in the Orange Bowl, the old Miami Dolphins Stadium. I mean, I've been that place packed. I've packed out, auditoriums in Chicago.
The youth did an event at the Orange Bowl in La Carpa. Remember? It was the Orange Bowl, man. Why youth ministry can say that we were the Orange Bowl, man? Come on.
So, I mean, we've done a lot of big things, I've been part of the organizers for March for Jesus with tens of thousands of people when it was really, really in its prime here in the schools. But Hell House.
Oh, man.
Nothing. I've never been a part of anything like Hell House.
I have no words. I literally have no words.
99% of those that would go through Hell House that were unsaved would receive Jesus. And I'm going to be uploading a video of what it looked like.
Wow.
I was not the creator of Hell House. A friend of mine was. I learned from him, and then we brought it here to Miami, and we incorporated Miami style.
Miami culture.
Yeah, it's very different in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
We follow the life of two gangsters, and we have a gang initiation scene, which was so real
Yeah.
that people, we'd play around with people, and I like to participate and act like the gang leader in the.
Yeah, you were the best one for sure.
I couldn't do it all the time, but I did a lot.
Yeah.
And then to go to the next scene, they had to go through the gang. Like we'd all stand there and they had to walk past us, and I'd be like, yo, let me get your wallet, man.
And
people would just hand me the wallet. Terrified.
People have to understand, Pastor, that this wasn't just a Hell House wasn't a play that you went and you sit down. It was a walkthrough. So you walk. We used the entire church building and parking, and there were scenes, and you will walk to each scene. So you were involved in the play. You were not just sitting down watching a play. You were being a part of it.
You would go to the gang initiation scene,
which was so real,
and you were standing here, like where I'm seated, and stuff was happening right there. Literally, punches, people bleeding, the beat down. It was incredible. You were right there. And then there was a tour guide.
It was so real.
The tour guide would say, okay, follow me to the next scene. And usually stats were given. There's 5,000 gangs in the United States of America.
Every scene we had a stat.
Yeah, we gave the stats of what that was for. And so then they would say, follow me to the next scene. And when they walked through, I'd be like, just leave your shoes right there, yo. Here, man, here. They would ask, what gang is that? Like, it was so real. And with the blood and everything, it was so real.
We had real cops.
Had real cops.
A real car accident outside. Two actual cars crashed.
That's how it started. It was the car accident.
Yeah.
And you'd hear a crash. You'd walk out. There's two parked cars crashed.
Real cars.
Yeah, that we bought from the junkyards. Yeah. Crashed them with smoke, you know. And then the scene started where these two gangsters were trying to get away from the police. They crashed and they killed somebody.
Yeah.
And then we talked about drunk driving. They were drunk.
Yeah.
So they go to the gang scene.
Yeah.
And it's not an initiation. I'm sorry. It's a violation.
It's a violation, correct.
Which is different. An initiation is when you're entering a violation is you did something wrong. And so the leaders there, which was me, it was like, what happened, man? Somebody's dead.
Yeah.
And, you know, y'all brought heat to us. You know, now the cops are looking for us.
Yeah.
And then, okay, you're going to get 6 minutes, you know, a violation where it's a beatdown. And then the beatdown would happen. And then they'd walk through us and they would go to a club.
Yeah.
And there was, you know, club music going. There was dancers everywhere, you know, people high, drugs being passed around everywhere. Again, you're on the sideline, but you're right there.
You're in, it was a club.
Yeah.
It was like, let's try to, it was like, you felt like you were inside a club.
You were in a club, yeah. You were standing against the wall, and all this is happening in front of you. Yeah. In the middle of all that, the DEA, which was again real cops that worked with us, that were Christians and were part of our youth ministry, would break in and grab the two gangsters, and arrest them. But the way they broke in was, you know, people yelling and
how many times did we break the door for real? Like,
So the door every year we had to replace that door.
Don't forget the demons.
Yeah,
there
would be demons
dressed in black
to show the connection of demonic activity everywhere.
Yes.
So you would see it in the gangs, you would see it in the cargo, you would see it in the club,
correct.
And then from there, for a time they would go straight to jail. At the end, we added a paddy wagon, a van, where the tour would get in the van along with the two kids. And then the two kids would start a big commotion. They would be being transported to prison, to jail. And then they would start a big commotion in the van. People would freak out. The gang would attack the van.
They were inside the van.
And people are like getting hit and throwing things. And they're trying to take the driver out of the car to get back the gang members that they arrested, you know? And people are like terrified. The guy would bite the guy's ear off. Blood would be splattered everywhere in the van. And then they get to jail. And there was a jail scene. The life of the two guys, one converts in jail, the other one doesn't. Mm-hmm. There was a jail that we made. They would be preaching the gospel. There'd be a preacher in there. And the people would come right outside.
With people that had actually been locked up before.
Yeah, everybody pretty much in that scene had done time in prison.
Had a time in prison.
Yeah, so they were all tatted up. They were all, in prison.
In prison, not jail. In prison, imagine.
Yeah.
That was wow.
And that was a very impressive thing. And that's also where the turnaround happens,
Correct.
because one of them converts. You don't see that guy anymore. You continue to follow the life of the guy that didn't convert. So from there, he would go to ask for help from us, witchcraft, Santeria,
Santeria.
Miami.
Yeah.
And again, the demons would grow. You would see them growing. There was 1 and 2, and then, now you're seeing 4.
Yes.
They're walking around, And so the kid goes to the Santera, they start reading, throwing the cards and the caracoles, the shells, and all that stuff. And you see an actual, and again, the person that did that had been in Santeria.
Yeah. Wow.
And was.
Yeah, this wasn't, this
Yeah.
was, it was.
We got people that did this stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is why I played the gang leader a lot, not always in the scene, because that's what I did,
100%.
So from there, he would go, I'm sorry, his dad would bond him out of prison.
Correct.
I forgot about that.
Correct.
The dad bonded him out of prison first. And the dad talks down to him, tells him he's garbage, that he doesn't know why he had him, and there's verbal abuse.
Verbal abuse.
Yeah, and telling him, I wish I would have never had you. I hate you. All this stuff, which the guy that did it was
the suicide scene after that.
One of the best actors I've ever seen in my life. That was Robert Alfonso.
Oh, yes.
That guy was scary. He was like one of those sergeant military guys.
Man, Robert Alfonso, you just brought that name.
People would call the cops thinking that there was a real fight going on at the car, because he would take them to the car. And then in the car, right before he got in the car, he would tell them off.
It was so emotional.
And the neighbors would call the police all the time, thinking that there was a huge fight going on. It was so real. I mean, everybody was like, this is real. Like, wow. This can't be fake.
Wow.
And then from there, he would go talk to his girlfriend, and he would date rape her because she had an experience with Jesus. And when he goes to see her and tell her all these problems he's having, he got beat down, the gang is after him, he killed somebody in the car, and then his dad, hates him, and this and that.
This was literally hell. It was literally hell.
Literally living hell on earth.
Wow.
And then he would tell the girl, just come, just come, kiss me, baby. And she's like, no, look, I met Jesus. And he's like, Jesus, that's just like my friend in jail. Get out of here. What do you mean? And she was like, look, I don't want to do this no more. And then he actually raped her. He would rape her. Of course, he would turn off the lights. You would hear it, and it was a date rape scene, which the girl ended up getting pregnant.
Yeah.
From there, everything was going downhill. He had to rape his girl. He goes to the Santera. And finally, after the Santera, you go to the room, and it's a suicide scene.
Tough.
Demons have incremented.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. And they're following him, and he's pacing, and he's got this crazy music going. And all of a sudden, from the shelf, one of the demons takes the gun and hands it to him. And the kid blows his brains out.
Yeah.
Blood spills, and he falls at the feet.
Which it was a movie gun that we will use that would actually will make a sound.
Yeah.
It wasn't a little black water gun. It was an actual prop gun from like movies that we will use.
And he would fall at the feet. Literally, his head landed on the feet of some of the tour people. And of course, statistics were given of how many teens commit suicide.
Splatter.
Yeah. Next scene is an abortion scene.
Tough.
We had girls working it that worked at hospitals. They had everything was real.
It was a real room.
It was a real abortion room. And the girl's having an abortion. And as she is about to begin, she tells them that she doesn't want to do it. And the nurses are like, you're just scared? We already started. And she screams out and she asks God to forgive her. And she dies.
Yes.
So now the kid died. He blew his brains out and his girlfriend died. And in the scene, they would use blood. I don't know what they used in there, but every scene, somebody fainted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Person down, person down. We had to start putting an EMT person outside.
It was the smell, it was just real.
And it was always men. I never saw a woman pass out. It was always a man.
Always a man.
Passed out. The biggest dude. I remember I was in there one day, this guy just fell right on me. Because sometimes I like to just go through it and check out things.
Yeah, yeah.
And and follow the people. Just incredible.
Wow.
We talked about statistics of abortion. The next scene is judgment. And we tried to make that as realistic as we could.
Yeah.
We spent thousands of dollars
Correct.
getting that place looking tight because it could look cheesy.
Yes.
If you don't do it right, it could look
It
cheesy.
could look cheesy.
And the girl and the guy go before Jesus. And the girl, he says, welcome and enter into my kingdom.
The Lord
The Lord says that. And people are like, well, how did she go? She had an abortion. Well, she cried out to God.
Mm,
And she asked for forgiveness.
so good. Wow.
Plus, she had received the Lord before, anyways.
Correct.
Then the kid comes, and he's like, my name is in there, right, God? I don't see your name here, man. What's your name? He says it. No. In fact, your name is in the name of the book of the people that get cast into eternal hell. Then we would call these mean-looking, these are bodybuilder guys. They just kind of grabbed the guy and dragged them into this.
What a scary
Looked
scene
like
that
a
was.
hole. It was like a black hole. And then the
Yeah.
guide was, follow me.
Yeah.
You were in a place, in a maze, that you didn't know where you were because you couldn't see your hand in front of your face.
This was a huge room, by the way.
Yeah, it was huge.
It was a huge room.
There was a path, but you didn't know there was a path. Yeah. And it smelled like sulfur. You couldn't see anything. We had heaters going in there. It was
hot.
It was just crazy. And people would get dead, things touching you, and you're in hell.
Yeah.
You're in hell. By the time you get out of hell, you're like, I don't ever want to go in that place again. And where did we take you? Straight to a room. We said, you don't ever have to go to that place. The only thing you need to do, 99.9% of the people received Christ in that room. Hell House is the greatest event I ever did. And I would not mind consulting anybody that wants to do something like this. And I'll spend time helping you and tell you how we did it. I possibly could get some of the people that helped in the construction part, this and that, to come alongside.
Wow.
So you could do Hell House, because Hell House is incredible.
It was definitely an event that rocked the city. And I remember Pastor being part of Hell House, because it also changed your life too, as a helper and as, you know, when you were acting, because we stepped into a spiritual realm too.
Mm-hmm.
We were not just acting, we were really telling the Lord, let's show these people that you're real. But I remember getting to church at 4:30, sometimes, 4:30 p.m. And there was already a line outside.
Oh, yeah.
It was sold out. And it wasn't a line from like a little line. The line would go out through the church, out through the back, out through Miller, through all the way to the back. And sometimes people will make the line, and sadly,
we couldn't let them?
We couldn't let them in because we had so many tours. I think we broke, if I'm not mistaken, I think we broke a record on tours one night where we were close to like 40 tours, Pastor.
Mm-hmm.
40 tours. So we would do people, right? Like each tour would carry, I think it was what, 10, 12 people?
No, it was, we try to, you know, we knew this, so we're trying to put 20 in there.
20 in there, yeah.
So we're talking 800 people in one night.
800 people in one night.
Yeah.
And we were doing this a week long.
Sell out every night.
We will finish, we will close in October 31st. Mm-hmm. We will always close it in Halloween. Mm-hmm. And that night was...
At the end, we started going past Halloween.
At the end, we started going past Halloween. But man, an event that transformed youth, transformed the city. It rocked, man. Literally.
I'll never forget my wife going out there while I'm out, you know, acting in the gang scene, having a blast. My wife going out there and going to the line, because we already knew that all these people, you know, only 40 or 50 from this line of 600 people were going to be able to get in.
Yeah.
Because, you know, each tour had a certain amount of people. It took a certain amount of minutes. Correct. Every 12 minutes, we started a new tour.
Correct.
Because once they got to scene 3, a new one could start, you know?
Correct.
And that took 12 minutes. So it's continuous, you know?
Correct.
And my wife going through the line and asking people, Christian or non-Christian?
Yeah.
And when they said Christian, we told them, sorry, man, we can't get you in. This is only now for non-Christians.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean? This is not an entertainment. This is life or death.
We're saving people.
Yeah, we're saving people. You
Yeah.
need 99.9% of the people that are unsaved are going to get saved tonight.
Exactly.
This is a great event, super entertaining. I mean, it's even if you're just going through it as a Christian,
So good.
but we have to ask you to just give up your spot because we need to get the unsaved.
Wow.
And this is what was happening every day, every night. Maria was dealing with this stuff. We had witches come.
Real witches.
Yeah, from Wicca.
Yeah.
Coming, and they were trying to lay hands on stuff, and they would touch certain stuff to try to condemn it. You know, they went on the radio and started telling some of the local radio stations that they had done it. We knew who they were already. We had them on camera. You know,
Yeah.
it was another level, just another level of a large event of evangelism of 300
It was
volunteers
the next level
every night.
event.
I mean, how do you get 300 people? It's hard to get 10 people to volunteer at church. Anybody that does anything in church knows that getting 10 people is not easy. Imagine getting 300 people nightly for a week.
Almost 10 nights.
And finishing on weekdays at midnight and on weekends, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It's another level.
It's another level, Pastor. It's another level, man. Wow.
Yeah. Praise God. Well, we want to thank you. Like I said, there's other things in there that you might be interested, some other teachings. Give us a call, reach out to us.
Yes.
If you're interested in more information, I'd be more than glad to do consulting or coaching or whatever it is. Believe me, God loves young people, and our job is to believe in them, develop them, coach them, and take them to their next level. Thanks for listening. God bless you guys.